let's stop the roller coaster for a second, because there's something else I want to hit you with. Spiders.
Alright, let's do this one last time. My name is Sam Harrison. I was bitten by the media bug, and for the last few weeks, I've been the media man, Spider-Man. I'm sure you know the rest. Made some blogs, started some video pieces, hoping to make a name for myself in the process and expand to so many ways of media. Well, now I'm here to talk about my own, but instead, I'm here to delve into one of the most highly anticipated films of this year, and that is with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, this is the sequel to the 2018 award-winning film, and after the last one being such an awe-inspiring masterwork, the bar was set pretty high for the sequel, and its inevitable second part coming up possibly next March. And I'm pleased to say that this one has set the bar high and passed it with pure grace and ease as another masterpiece.
Alright, let's do this one last time.
Now, to give some context about some backstory about what the first movie is about, we're introducing that movie to Miles Morales, our hero for these series of stories. Now, he's just started a new school, and he's trying to find himself fitting in with all these new prestigious people. One night, while out with his Uncle Aaron, he gets bitten by a radioactive spider, and soon gains powers of the Spider-Man. Now, after his own universe's Peter Parker dies by the hands of the Kingpin and a super collider, suddenly a wave of other spider people, including a more disheveled Peter B. Parker, Gwen Stacy, who's also a spider person, Spider-Man Noir, a talking anthropomorphic pig named Spider-Ham, and an anime girl with a giant mech named Penny Parker. They all soon team up to stop Kingpin, destroy the Collider, cause the entire universe from collapsing, and for Miles in general to learn what it means to be Spider-Man. Now, it's a great movie, of course, it's a perfect 10 to me. Now, for this story time round, so after reuniting with Gwen Stacy, Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood Spider-Man Miles Morales is catapulted across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. However, when the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat known as the Spot, Miles finds himself pitted against the other spider people and must soon redefine what it means to be a hero and save the people he loves most. Now, for any sequel, usually would always be the case it's going much bigger from the original, and this one does that with ease. With so many new worlds, characters, and a much bigger threat coming into play, it does build it up much more. As of now, the story is not fully complete, given that this is the first of a two-parter, but from the first part, it turned out really great, and I have good faith that the second part is going to be on the same level, hopefully. Now, this would be also a 10 as well, but I'm ranking at 9.5. It could go up, it could go down, depending on the outcome score of Beyond the Spider-Verse, but we'll see when that gets around to it.
Pizza time.
Now, this film boasts over 240 different variations of Spider-Man. And of course, I'm not going to talk about all of them. If I would, I'd be here till next week talking about it. So anyway, I'm going to delve onto some of the main groups. Some that basically aren't introduced, ones that we've introduced in the beginning, and some that will have big aspects to the story. So just get the gist of it. So let's start with the main man of the series, and that is Miles Morales. He has been the primary focus of this series from the very beginning, as it has been about his story of starting as a simple kid from Brooklyn, gets bit by a radioactive spider, and must learn how to be Spider-Man while stopping a multiverse-level disaster. Now, we got a great deal of character development for his character in the original, and this one, we have been amplified tenfold with the development given that he's had over about 16 months as him being Spider-Man for his universe, and the journey he will go on for this movie to build on his character for the future of how the story will play out when we get to the trilogy conclusion. His performance shows how he has grown in the last year of being the wall crawler and dealing with missing his friends and trying to make his parents understand him more, and it does feel genuine. It has become one of my all-time favorite spider people. And Shameik Moore does a really great job as the performance, so yeah, it's really good. It's a really good performance overall. Now let's talk on the character in this film that is as much of a focus as Miles as he is, and that's with Gwen Stacy, who's played by Hailee Steinfeld. Now, Gwen was a character we meet in the original, normal form original, before his attempted heist in Alchemex in the first movie introduced us to our character. And she does get back home at the end of it. Now, this one, we get a bit more of a background of her dealing with the guilt of her feeling it was her responsibility for the death of her universe's Peter Parker, as well as her father thinking that she was the one responsible for it in her spider son. Now, there is a great focus of conflict between her and her father, and it shows that she wants to be open with her and needs to deal with the consequences of it, and it feels very genuine and real than what I've seen in other forms of media that try to portray. It also does a great deal of showing that sometimes affection between her and Miles in this film at the start little over the film of her being a part of the major spider society, and also knowing this side of Miles' reasoning to the whole threat is possibly the right thing as well. It shows her trust and conflict in the Great Folk. I'm sure we'll probably get more of a development of Gwen in the following film, and the Spider-Woman film that's also been confirmed to be in the works, and we'll probably watch with great interest. Speaking on parental figures, let's talk about Miles' parents, Rio and Jefferson Morales. These two have been given a little bit more of a focus in this one compared to the previous movie, which kind of more focused on Miles' father in the last one, and has had form of presence in the originals. He does get a little more development of trying to figure out Miles and what he wants to do for his future, just as he's about to become captain of the NYPD. As for his mom, she's worried that she's losing and not even knowing who her son is, and wants to be there. And there are moments where there's some somber heart-to-heart moments that feel genuine, something that parental figures would want out of their own children to achieve big things for the future. I like that, and it feels a bit more fresh for everything. Hopefully these promises and everything will be built upon for the follow-up and promised about at the end of the next film. Now let's talk about a somewhat antagonist, a man that's got himself swole since the last time we saw him at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, and the one that a lot of people are thirsting over on the internet, Miguel O'Hara, or 2099. We got a small tease of him, as I mentioned, Into the Spider-Verse. He traveled across the different universes and recruited other spider people for a large-scale defense force against dangers and threats to the multiverse. I just want everything to become an incursion and completely collapse everything like he experienced in the past. He knows the pain of that, and he doesn't want it in his own hands and wants it to never happen again. And while he does understand Miles' predicament, he knows that there's no chance of fully getting him and see him now as a possible threat and an anomaly. He does show some level of kicking ass, and also the case that he will stop at nothing to stop the destruction of the multiverse or Spider-Verse by any means possible. He is a little sidelined in the film until the second half, and I'm sure he will have a much bigger presence in Beyond, so I'm looking forward to all of that. Now for the last of the returning spider people from Into the Spider-Verse, we have the man himself, Peter B. Parker, the one who had the strongest arc between himself and Miles in the original film. Now, since then, it seems to be the case he has made things work between himself and MJ, and I've got himself a little kid in the form of Mayday with the similar spider powers and has become a hard-working dad who really cares for his new bundle of joy. And you feel that Miles has helped him since the original with that whole situation. Now, while he does get less screen time in this one, I'm sure that basically because it's a two-parter, it probably will have a bigger presence in Beyond. So we'll have to see what happens once that drops around next year or whenever that is if it gets delayed. But I look forward to seeing more of him because I actually like his character. And to say that every film in this series is going to introduce all new forms of spider people is the biggest understatement, as we have seen new ones as some background ones, and then there's some that we are introduced as main players in the game. And the first is the introduction of Pravita Pravakar, or Spider-Man India, and his combined Earth location of Mumbai. His style is so unique at having some cool aspects, like the moments of fight style being connected back to the deep history of India is very cool, and while he does not have much of a screen presence in this movie, he does show his efforts in saving the world he's a part of and doing it in his own style. I do hope, and most likely we'll probably will see him in the next film to really show more of his design and skills in saving the multiverse possible destruction. Now, if there was ever a character that I thought couldn't be more cooler than Spider-Man, it's my man, Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk, who's played by Danny Kaluuya. He's my new favorite character from this trilogy series, as he is so cool, rebellious, and has the support of a fellow spider brother with Miles, and has helped him out in a pinch and in a way when it comes to danger. He may be against all of that, but he will do in the aid of Miles and Gwen. Now, his animation style is so damn cool, and I thought you could make a character even more awesome with an animation style that is pulled off of the 70s rock punk style advertising style. Now, he may not have the biggest screen time right now, but he does seem like he will be involved again for the follow-up, and I, for one, welcome this extra appearance of Punk. Even would have loved the spin-off dedicated to him in the future. Please, Sony, make that happen. Now we shall delve into the closest ally 29 and was a mentor to Spider-Gwen, and that is of course Jessica Drew, or Spider-Woman. Now, introduction at the beginning of the film with 29 is one of some badass methods, as she is kicking ass with the spider cycle, multi-web shooter hands, and doing this all while she's due a child in a few short weeks. She's become a somewhat mentor to Gwen when she becomes accepted into the Spider Society, and does have the authority stance of making sure that no universe completely falls apart and everything stays as it's meant to be. She may not have much of a screen presence after the beginning, but she does get involved when the story calls for her, and she does make a good presence. I'm sure that we will get more of her in the sequel and also in the Spider-Woman film of the future, as is mentioned. Now let's talk on what was essentially started as the main villain for the two-part duology, and that is with The Spot. Now, The Spot may look like some weird anthropomorphic Dalmatian and seems just the villain of the week, but he has some strange cosmic powers of creating some forms of portals with the black spots in his body. It soon shows that he is more than just the villain of the week and more of a multiversal threat. The base of him starting off as a goofball and building to something that honestly creeps me out by the near ultimate power he form is super cool, and I think when you can turn some form of a villain from any superhero in the comics from being some laughingstock to becoming a real dangerous being is something I enjoy, and his untapped potential is something to be scared by. While it is a major presence for the first half of the film, he does disappear for the second half, but seems to be building him up for the unleashing his true power in the next film, and I am ready to be amazed by the sheer power and not just by some goofball villain of the week. Now, while there is of course over 240 Spider characters, a lot of them are background pieces that may have more of a presence or focus and beyond, and some other appearances and cameos I do not want to delve into too much, as they could be seen as spoilers, because I want people to see this movie, of course. I can delve into at least two that were shown in the trailers, and that is with one other villain and another Spider-Man that does have a little bit of a screen time. So we'll start with the villain, because it's the beginning. We are shown a unique version of the Vulture with a really cool art style inspired by the working and art books of Leonardo da Vinci. And that way that has been projected into the big screen is super cool and stylized with all the subtle aspects and tones of what he's found in those great artist workings. And it's a great opening setup for the whole film. Now, as for the other Spider-Man I can mention is it's Spider-Man of Ben Reilly, or Scarlet Spider. He gets a funny few lines of dialogue, and I know some people complained about his portrayal in the film, but honestly, it could have been a lot worse. Have you seen the comics he's been in lately? It's been a mess. And I'm sure he'll probably show up again for Beyond. Like, hopefully he gets more funny lines. But yeah, I really did like a lot of the characters, with some getting some more development onto the first film's characters. Sure, some of them do make a small appearance, and I was expecting, and some I was hoping to see again. But I'm sure we'll have a presence of the trilogy finale, and I'm all seeing them characters again for maybe even one or two new Spider people yet to be seen. There's one particular I think some people may know about. But overall, I give it a 9.5 for the characters. Again, could go up or down depending on the new movie.
With great power comes great big booty bitches.
Now, one of course that just is an overall 10 anyway is the presentation. I mean, it's so beautiful. Like, every scene is a work of art. That is literally, once I went out of that screening, I wanted to have a 4K copy of it right there and then, so I can go home and freeze frame every single frame and show all the beautiful pieces like this and that and this and that and that. It's just so many beautiful scenes. Like, every universe has something new and cool with its beautiful frame of artwork and styles. Like Gwen's universe being like watercolor paints, 29's being a mix of clean future with dystopian underbelly, Spider-Punk's just being like the grunge rock 70s era of like the punk rock styles, and just so many more. Like, it's just so beautiful. And I gotta commend the thousands of animators who worked on this movie. People say animation is just like something for kids. Well, I say fuck them, because animation is art. It's a lot more development. Sure, people have a bit of a stress about it, as I've seen with with this outcome of this movie, but it's beautiful. As well as the characters, it's just so well done. Like, it's a case where like all of them have a unique style to them, of course, but also a case where if you look at certain scenes like the big chase sequence, all the different Spider people are a different style, a different color animation style. There's so many different things. Like, they've worked so tirelessly on this movie for the last 5 years. And honestly, if this movie is not nominated for more than just the animated feature section at this year's Academy Awards, I will riot. I will get mad. But overall, as I've said, presentation, a true work of art. It's gone beyond masterpiece. It's a true work of art. And of course, it's a 10 out of 10. Now, the music in these movies is not ones I would really listen to a lot. I do listen to the scores a lot of times, because the music is pretty good. But honestly, the music for this actually is pretty catchy, pretty like vibrant. It's pretty chill. There's a lot of great music tracks in this, and again, commend the studio and the artist for all of this great work. Like, there's so many good lines. Like, basically work for, like, you know, listen to again while I'm working, like editing, doing some exercises, you know, saving the city, doing quips, you know, all that jazz. Like, there's some great scores to there as well, like, you know, the haunting vibe of like 29's theme of the future synth, or Gwen's one of being like pretty cool and upbeat, and one that kind of gets a bit overlooked, or even the likes of the spot turning into something that sounds so simple into something so menacing and creepy by the end of it is really cool. Now, I think that they've done an excellent job with the music, and hopefully you hear some of the themes again for the next one, and some new score and tracks in the future. Overall, a 9.5 out of 10. I'm sure probably as well a case of it peaks as well beyond. That's good enough as well to bring it upward. I will say as well, for the likes of some movies as of late, the writing can be a little flat. Well, this has been pointed towards superhero movies in particular, or ones that have a focus of a lot more characters just being a bit rough or underdeveloped. But I think this one does have a pretty strong writing to it. It's especially noticeable in certain moments between like Miles and his parents, or Gwen when they have the written out like conversations that people would genuinely have. It feels more human instead of just like, you know, being tacked out. Like this is the fear that we have with the modern day of AI. You're gonna get like just disaster with writings and stuff. But yeah, it's actually, you feel genuine to it. Scenes where characters are explaining things are easy to follow and not bogged down by overly complicated and told straight, and all other film forms like the quips and some jokes were actually pretty funny and actually well timed. I know that the writers for this have worked on both this and Beyond at the same time, well, I believe, and hopefully there will be some more continuous great writing in the sequel. Again, as I said, go up and down, but the score right now, 9.5.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Now, of course, every movie, even ones that would be classed as masterpieces, do have some known flaws to them, of course. Some are really ones that get resolved properly in the with the sequel or not, but most cases on my end, it's only really 2 points. First, the story. It's mainly more the way that this film ends with a cliffhanger. I have a fair amount of complaints for its location, and while I would agree the placement of it does feel a little odd, I think it does set up a follow-up to the really strong opening scene on one end of things. It is the case that the opening just ignores where the ending leaves off. It will be very annoying, or seeing all that, I'm sure it'll probably play out from the start. They probably will at least build on from where that ends. You know. The other one is characters. Mainly in the case of one or two of them getting a little bit minimal screen time than I expected, but then again, some will probably be making an appearance, a lot more in the sequel with some other characters as well. But I'm sure, given this is half a major film, that it would be the build-up and the big final showdown. But unless it's in the process they are silent again, then I would knock it down and score for one or two of them collectively, but I'm sure they will find a way to give them all moments to shine. So overall, the original Spider-Verse film came along and surprised everyone with beautiful animation, striking action, and visuals, and a great story, and gave its follow-up a tough challenge. And across, did it with ease. It was fantastic, the story is simple but great, characters are fun and inventive, and all other elements are amazing, and the animation has gone beyond masterpiece and into true works of art. I, for one, am very excited for the finale, and even if the film is supposedly being delayed with how much work is put into this film, when I would be perfectly fine with this one having more time to create everything fully, and when that day comes, I'm gonna go back to this movie theater, probably on full cost. It's an instance that essentially, I will sit down, I will enjoy the story, find out how it all ends, and no matter what the outcome, I will be grateful that this series of films existed. So to give a rundown of the scores for each area, will change as well, possibly with Beyond. Story, 9.5. Characters, 9.5. Presentation, a 10. Music, 9.5. Writings, 9.5. Giving a total score of 48 out of 50, or 96%. Well done, animators, to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But I want to know what you think. Did you enjoy Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse? Or do you think that this movie is a bit overhyped, to say the least? Or do you feel that Beyond is going to get delayed? I'd love to hear your thoughts about everything in the comments below. And yeah, I'm going to get out of this suit now, or go stop crime or something, I don't know. So until then, I hope you all stay wonderful people. If you enjoyed this, give a like, give a comment, share around, subscribe if you like. Well, until next time, I've been Sam, and I've been the Media Man.